Peace and blessings, you guys, and welcome to another episode of the Dear Black Woman podcast. Now, this is a space where Black women's stories are honored, healing is spoken out loud, and our truths take center stage. Now, today we're joined by Zakiyyah Broadnax, a profound voice and co-author in the Dear Black Woman Anthology project. Now, I told you all this season I was going to be featuring all of the co-authors who are participating in our anthology project. Now, in this inspiring episode, Zakiyyah shares how faith became her unwavering anchor during challenging times, guiding her through moments of doubt to reclaim her worth. Now, through her heartfelt letter into her inner child, she actually takes listeners on a journey of spiritual awakening, profound self-discovery, and divine strength. Now, Zakiyyah's story is a powerful reminder that even in the darkest moments, faith can still be a guiding light. Now, she shares how she learned to trust herself, embrace her imperfections, and stand boldly in her truth. Now, stay with us as we talk to Zakiyyah today. Hello, beautiful.
Hello, Cammie. How are you?
I'm awesome. How are you doing today?
I am great. I'm happy to be here. Thank you for having me.
Listen, Zakiyyah, thank you so much for being here. Now, your story begins with a message to little me. What was it about this moment in your life that compelled you to sort of write that letter to your younger self, specifically to address the journey of just being never broken?
I think as I got older, I wanted to just look back at everything that I had been through and give myself a little bit of encouragement, a little bit of a reminder that even though I have healed from that person and I feel like I'm no longer that person, but to still respect her and know that she's always going to be there. So to just reach back and go back and tell her that she's seen, she's heard, she's loved, she's needed, and how we're going to work together as a unit to make her become the best part of herself and a better person.
I love that. Now, one of my favorite lines that you stated in your story was tears that watered your strength. Now, can you explain the transformative power of those unseen moments of vulnerability for you and how they laid the groundwork for the woman you're becoming?
Yes, when I was doing a lot of self reflecting, a lot of my healing journey uh, made me take accountability for my actions. A lot of, and by accountability, I mean things that I allowed to happen to me. And so by me doing that, it was hard. So it was times to where I had to go through the hurt. I had to, sit in silence and go through my tears. And a lot of times I used to just try to hurry up and get past those emotions. Like I didn't want to feel hurt. I didn't want to feel anger. To cry was to be weak and to be vulnerable. But I realized these are emotions that we were given as humans and that they can be empowering. So I started to embrace those emotions and just take the time to just cry and take the time to just be upset and take the time to just be angry and not to stay in those places but to embrace those emotions because it's part of us, it's part of being human. And so once I learned to do that, that's actually where my healing journey began.
Now, as Black women, we all understand like the ways we might shrink ourselves in relationships or any type of situation, especially in business or even in friendships. Now, you powerfully realize that love isn't supposed to shrink you. What was a small everyday moment or quiet time within yourself that made you realize you were shrinking and that it was time to reclaim your space?
When I no longer knew who I was, when I would start questioning, do I even like this? Do I like this because I like it, or do I like it because he liked it? Or because I'm supposed to like it? Do I feel this way because I really feel this way, or this is the way I was expected, or they expected me to feel? So that moment, I felt so lost that I had no idea who I was, and if my feelings were my own, or if it's because I was trying to impress someone to get them to like me, to get them to love me, that I tried to mold myself into becoming what I thought they wanted, and I no longer recognized myself anymore.
Now look, you we in this story you talk a lot about your past. You left home at 19. You call this going and entering into an unfamiliar city that led to a chapter that became something darker. So without going into specifics, what inside of you did you rely on to sort of find your way through those challenging times when everything felt unknown or uncertain for you?
I would say prayer. I would say prayer. Even though I'm not a big religious person, I consider myself more spiritual, but I just relied a lot on survival mode, just things that I was taught, of things that I went through as younger, on just how to survive, how to fight, and just, prayer and trying to keep my strength up within myself without falling up under the water, or just falling up under, or just giving up on life. So just the internal strength that I had, I think I've always had that will to fight and not just let this be my last and be, taken out. So that is what, got me through, just that sheer will to just fight and make it through.
Okay, so you talk also about healing parts of yourself that nobody clapped for. What was one of the most important internal changes you made that brought you peace, even if no one else knew about it?
Loving myself,
I love
because
that.
I had realized, even though, I didn't like, well, actually, at some point I did hate myself, but at some points I didn't like who I was. I didn't love who I was. So one of the healing moments, and I think the most pivotal healing moment for me, is to learning to give myself grace, learning that it wasn't my fault, it's part of my journey, and actually loving and falling in love with myself was, I think, the most healing and most pivotal moment in my life that nobody clapped for, but that was huge for me to actually say that I love myself.
Listen, say it again. I'm gonna give you a round of applause right now. Okay, sis. Listen, if nobody else clap for you, I'm gonna give you your flowers. I'm gonna clap for you now. Okay.
Thank you.
So
Thank you.
a lot of us fight silent battles. Now, you've bravely faced the mirror, told the truth, and didn't look away. What did it feel like to finally be completely honest with yourself?
It hurt. It hurt. I was embarrassed. I was ashamed. And that initially, I was really hard on myself because it hurt to, realize some of the things that I allowed to happen to me, and some of the things that I went through. I felt like I didn't defend myself. I felt like that I didn't, stand up for myself. So to fight, some of those battles and to deal with that, it really was hard. And I had to learn that I didn't know any better. I was not taught any better. I had to pretty much fight, my entire life, with the, mother being on drugs and just not, having that guidance. So I had to learn to just give myself grace and not be so hard on myself. And most importantly, I had to learn to forgive myself.
I love that. Now, you became the woman you once needed. Who is that woman, and what qualities did you build within yourself to become her?
Hmm. It's a very good question. That woman now is loving to herself. She's understanding. She's strong. She's committed. She's determined. And I think, compassionate. And I think who I am now, I am more understanding and more transparent. And I give women. I think at one point in my life, because what I went through and when I was struggling to heal, I had became extremely like judgmental. But as I started going through my own healing journey of peeling apart my own layers, I realized that we all, have a story. We all have been through some things. And so it has definitely made me, more than anything, it's made me more understanding and more compassionate, to people. And it's opened up that, healing part of me that wants to, help other women, heal and be the best version of themselves, to love themselves. And I always say, loving yourself and being in love with yourself, I learned for me is two totally different things. And so, for the woman that I am now, I am a strong, caring, loving Black woman who is in love with herself, who is on her healing journey and working to become the most authentic part of herself.
I love it. I love it. Now you talk about we talked about your faith, we talk about prayer. So faith again is clearly a major part of who you are. Now being quote unquote carried by God and anchored in love. Now bear in mind some of you guys, I'm quoting some things from her story. How does your faith help you in everyday life, especially when things get tough?
um, it let me know that I wasn't alone, that there was a higher power, higher than myself. So whatever, someone's faith is, whether they, believe in God or Buddha, whatever it is that they believe, that it just spiritually, I just knew that I wasn't alone and there was a higher power than just me. And any time that I felt low or felt like I just couldn't go on or didn't know what to do, I just knew to just have faith and just know that it was all going to work out if I just kept moving and just kept pushing and kept pushing. I may not know what was going to happen. I may not know how I was going to get through this, but I feel with my faith and knowing that there is a higher power and just the belief that I was going to get through it.
I love it. Now, what what was actually one simple way you connected with your spiritual side to feel that faith, to feel strong?
Meditation,
Hmm.
spending time with myself, just quiet, just me, whether it was, just listening to nature, or just, staring at a candle, or just listening to my breaths and my heartbeat and just being in tune with me. That's how I, for me, really, that's how I became loving of candles and things like that, because it just tapped into my internal and spiritual. And I learned how to do that because I wasn't always able to do that.
Okay. Now, excuse me, your journey has been about learning to trust yourself. What was a key moment or a small habit that sort of helped you build that deep trust in your own decisions?
Hmm. I would say small habit that would help me build that deep trust. Let's see. Writing things down for me. When I would, showing for me to build that trust was to show gratitude and to build on gratitude, because a lot of times I had tend to focus on things that were going wrong or things that were not going the way I wanted them to, or things that was hurtful. But to get past that and not go down that dark rabbit hole like I used to, like I even have like a gratitude jar that I have even to this day, that when something happens and I'm out and something gets me really upset, or I'm angry or mad or whatever, and I can't get out of my head, I would grab my jar, my little pieces of paper, and I would write down things that I'm grateful for. And for one, that would shift my mindset. And I would just add those things, to a jar. And so that's one habit that I use to help me get past that, is to think of something positive and to find something in that moment that I'm grateful for.
I love that. Now, as someone who is sort of rooted in truth, how has being honest with yourself about your past sort of helped you feel more free?
because I no longer feel like I have to hide. I no longer feel like I have to do what everyone else think I should be doing to, as they say, people pleasing. So that being truthful and honest, I'm working on not being so forceful with it. So we're working on that, because when I get into my truth, it's like sometimes I think, I never did that before. So I have to sometimes get out that defense mode, like this is my truth and I'm standing behind it. But being truthful and honest with myself has taught me, the self love and loving myself. And it makes me feel free. It makes me feel free. It makes me want to share, because all I have and all I can share is what it did for me, how it worked for me. I can't speak for anyone else. So it gave me confidence in me, and it helped build my character and build me.
Okay. Now, what did you learn about yourself by writing this letter to your inner child?
That I am stronger than I ever thought I was. I learned that I am strong. I learned that I had been through, once I got to writing and start thinking about everything, I learned that I had been through a lot. I had learned that I had blocked out some things,
Mm,
or just skated over some things that I thought I had healed from. And as I started writing, those emotions came out that, like, hey, you didn't heal, you just tucked it down somewhere to try
wow.
to get
Yeah.
over it, but you really didn't heal from it. So that was really hard for me, because it was taking me back to all these years. I'm moving through life thinking I had healed from it, and realizing that I really hadn't. I had just covered it up and just tucked it down.
Okay. Now that you've done this, what's one of the biggest lessons that you've learned about your self worth that you wish other Black women knew?
That I matter,
Mm, yes.
that my beliefs matter, that my boundaries matter, and that I come first. And I feel like, before wife, husband, kids, mother, father, cousin, sister, every person in the world, that we as a person should always put ourselves first.
Yes,
So,
absolutely.
and I used to not always do that, trying, because I love this person, or trying to prove to this person. And I learned that that is what started me losing myself. And
Yes, because when you're giving away pieces of yourself, you lose yourself. You got to remember that.
exactly, exactly. And little pieces add up to big pieces, and then you end up not even knowing who you are
Who
anymore.
you are anymore. That's right.
Exactly. So I would say, stick to your truth, stick to your boundaries, have your non negotiables, and make those non negotiables always non negotiables. And not, those non negotiables should be your core of who you are. And up under no circumstances should you ever waver from that.
I know that's right. Now, listen, Zakiyyah, you are now living boldly, loving deeply, and giving freely. What does living boldly mean for you in your daily life?
Happiness, freedom, and peace. Because it, I can't even really explain it, but this version of me, I'm the type of person that any person I see, I'm gonna smile, I'm gonna just emit some energy. I'm gonna say, hey, I love that red hat on you, or I just love your smile. But I feel at peace, and I feel happiness, and I just want to share it with everyone. I believe I have internal energy, which I didn't believe that I had before. And just to emit that and let that soak out into the world and to everybody else is just to be able to feel that. And just my happiness and peace.
I
That's
love
what
that.
it brought me.
Now, for women out there going through their own darkest times, what's one piece of advice you give them about holding on to hope based on your own journey?
To give yourself grace, to don't be so hard on yourself, but also take accountability for what's going on. And I mean, I'm not saying because some women, have, been abused, and not saying that it's your fault, but just to what helped me is to dig deeper and to find out within me, why did I allow this to happen? Why did I stay? So I would just say, just, hang in there, don't give up hope, and just know that you matter and that you are not alone. You are not alone.
So, after going through so much, what's one simple way you sort of protect your peace and energy in your daily life now?
For me, I find comfort in locking myself in the bathroom with some candles and sit in a hot tub of water. So I would, say, to women to find that one thing that gives you peace, whether it be if you got to sit in your car when you get home for 5 or 10 minutes just to take some time to kind of just do some deep breathing exercises, or just take some time just for you to do something that you truly, truly enjoy, not like getting your nails done or hair done, something that focuses on you when you're with just that quiet time within yourself and connecting with yourself.
Now, how do you handle doubts or fears now how do you handle doubts or fears when they pop up?
Um, for doubts, when they become strong and pop up, I literally just tell myself to shut up. I just like, shut up, just quit. I literally like, shut up, quit saying that. And so for doubts, I just have to literally tell myself to shut up. You can do this. For fear, I ask myself, what's the alternative of not doing this? Because majority of the time, if it's for, feeling better, success, it's they always say everything you want is on the other side of fear. So
Yes.
I always ask myself, like, what's the alternative if I don't do this, if I don't get this done? And as long as I still can have breath and there's nothing that's going, kill me, I have just gotten the courage from doing this and writing this letter to myself to know that fear is just normally because it's something that we are not used to, something that is unfamiliar to us, something that we haven't done before. And then I think about before I became a nurse, I didn't know anything about nursing. I had to learn that and just have faith and just learn the tools along the way. So those are ways that I deal with, doubt and fear, just the mindset to just do it scared, but do it.
Do it. That's right. Just
Yeah.
do it. Now, if you could pick one quality that you're most proud of developing in yourself over your journey, what would that be and why?
I think the best quality that I have is recognizing my worth and realizing that I am capable of anything and that I am strong enough to make it through everything. And just being at peace, and I keep going back to being at peace and happiness is because it's something that I haven't always felt. And when I say always felt, we talking like 2 or 3 years ago,
Yeah.
not not just 10, 15 years, but it's something that I haven't always felt. And just being um, more at peace and happiness, I think, is one of the my biggest qualities that I'm proud of.
Okay. Now, what's one piece of simple advice that you would give to someone who sort of feels stuck and trying to find their way forward, but don't even know, don't, that's really unsure about where to start?
Write it down, get it out your head, because a lot of times we get wrapped up in our own thoughts, we get wrapped up in our heads. And I would just say, write it down, write down, whatever it is you're going through. Also to write down what you would want your life to look like. What does happiness mean to you? What does happiness look like to you? What does freedom look like to you? Because that will get you out your head. It's going to get you to focus on something positive instead of always focusing on the negative and what's going on. It actually can help you create like a action plan. So I would say just write it down.
Okay. I love that.
Yeah.
Now, the Dear Black Woman podcast, here we like to emphasize that your voice matters, your healing is possible, and your story is worthy of space. We've invited you to be a part of our Dear Black Woman Anthology project where you're writing a letter to your inner child. What does it mean for your voice to be heard and honored in this way?
To be honest, it's life changing because I've before this opportunity, I never thought that my story really mattered. It was just something that I went through. So to me, it was life changing on so many levels because even though I had started my healing journey before this, but to be able to write this letter to myself and to have it in the future be read by other women that I can
Mhm.
help, it was definitely life changing because it makes me feel like I have a voice. It makes me feel like my circumstances and my situation is going to help another woman heal and get to the point to where she needs to be, to where she can feel free and loved and cared for. And it was life changing for me.
I love that for you.
And
I
I
do.
love that. And I love you for that.
Thank you. Listen, Zakiyyah, that was my last question for you. And I just want to say thank you so much for sharing your journey of faith, trust, and self discovery. Thank you for writing to your inner child, for sharing your story, because it is definitely a powerful testament to the light we can find even in our darkest and deepest valleys. So
Yes.
thank you for being a part of this project.
Yes. And thank you for having me.
Thank you.
So
Listen, you guys, this has been another dynamic episode of the pod of the Dear Black Woman podcast. Now, to every listener, if you're navigating your own challenging times, remember Zakiyyah's journey. Your faith can be your anchor, your trust will set you free. Now, you are loved, you are worthy, and you are whole. Follow the Dear Black Woman podcast wherever you listen to your favorite podcast episodes. Share this episode with someone whose spirit needs a guiding light. And as always, keep walking in your truth. Until next time, stay grounded, stay present, and stay whole.